Many have no idea what is happening in a couple days. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got a number of things to cover. In this video, obviously the first thing, which we're going to cover in a little bit here, has to do with something that's happening in a couple days. And it's pretty big, and it's going to affect you. We're going to get into that probably first. Also, we're going to get into what's going on in China. And it seems to be revolving around the stock market, but it's not what you think. It's going to become something much, much worse. We'll get into that. And actually, we got a ton of other things to talk about. What's going on with Walmart, our ports, and actually a ton of other things as well. Also, what's going on with honestly, something else very strange that I noticed with people around us changing, as you'd say, very much. And you're not going to believe it. We'll get into that probably second, I'm guessing, because I'm noticing so many people, we're talking leaders, just completely changing. And you'll see what I'm getting at when we get into it in a minute here. But it has to do with Pope Francis. It has to do with just a ton of leaders, just like all across the board. You'll see everyone flipping. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's start with the ports first. And actually, no, let's just start with this. We'll start with what happened with this Hurricane Helene, where we have 4.5 million people in the dark from Florida to Virginia. And of course, I've seen some of the various videos, and it looks like it's a pretty strong one based on what I've seen. We have, of course, also that's going to affect trade in ports and deliveries and whatever you want to call it. But then you have this as well. A looming East Coast port strike could shake the economy. This is on October 1st. And actually, this is going to have much more impact than I realized. I talked about it in a previous video, and I just thought it was like, okay, whatever. No, actually, it's going to make a huge deal. It's going to affect numerous stores, Walmart, Home Depot, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, you're going to have thousands of items in shortage. And we're talking like for months potentially. So this is another factor on top of this, Hurricane Helene. You have a port strike that will leave Walmart, IKEA, Home Depot with few import options. Union warns. Same with Samsung, LG, automakers included. So it's not just like, goods coming to your store. It could be also, parts needed for trucks that need to make deliveries. It could be anything. There's so many different steps to the supply chain that are affected by this, right? And also you have here, it talks about goods for up to months potentially could be backed up as a result of this. It kind of reminds me back of 2020 where we had all those ports that were essentially had just ships out, sitting out in the port, not doing anything, kind of like that. We could be seeing that again as a result of this. And of course, it makes you kind of wonder the timing. Obviously, a lot of people have been doing strikes because they're not getting paid enough, but it's ironic because looking at like the GM strikes and all these automaker strikes, all they did is ended up getting their jobs, getting layoffs and stuff. Like there was I think it was in Kansas. Was it? I can't remember what state it was. I thought it was Kansas, where one of their plants basically closed down. Everyone was laid off. And it's because, of course, there's not enough people buying cars. There's not enough people buying goods. Everyone's broke. If they're all broke, no one's shipping anything, or not as many things. And if they're not shipping as many things, there's going to be less work. They're not going to need you as much. Then you also want higher wages because because you're not making enough money, but at the same time, no one's able to buy anything either. So it's like a catch-22, right? It's like going to the bank trying to get money for a loan and you have no money to back up the loan or something. It's like that or something. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So you have that going on. You have port workers from Maine to Texas are set to strike on Tuesday. Expect shortages and higher prices. So prices are going to go way up. You're going to have lots of delays. They're going to have to go all the way around to the other coastline in some cases, or come through other areas or ways or whatever to get to different ports, because obviously the East Coast is pretty much going to be shut down. And this includes also the fact that you have a hurricane on the East Coast. So, I mean, it's like a double whammy in that respect. New York longshore workers at ports from Maine to Texas are set to walk off the job early Tuesday. So it's not even East Coast, it's also Texas, right? I wouldn't call that East Coast per se. I guess technically it is, although it's like literally in the middle of the country, you know. I guess it is, you know. Well, it's not really East Coast, it's more like South Coast at that point, right? But you get what I'm saying. So all these workers are set to protest, strike for wages, higher wages. And you have at the same time other things going on. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first I want to get into something strange I noticed with a lot of different celebrities, ministers, social media personalities, just all across the board. I've noticed a lot of things happening of recent. And I wanted to show you guys this pattern that I've noticed because it's very strange. And actually, we'll lead it off with something that's a little different that doesn't exactly relate to that, but you'll get what I'm saying. So we'll start off with this Coke thing. Coca-Cola apparently recently released a machine that can basically put a message on the can when you purchase it, right? And apparently, if you type in JESUS, it immediately says, oh, sorry, you can't use that word. We don't allow religious and political type stuff or whatever. But you can actually write anything else on there. It's just that one word. Pretty much, there's only like 2 or 3 words you can't write on the can. You can write anything else. I mean, you could write like Satan, you know, is awesome or some stupid thing like that, and it would allow it. But if you write Jesus, it won't allow it. It doesn't matter what you're going to write after that, right? So I thought that was rather curious. So you have a name brand company doing that. Then you have something that to completely contrast that. This is I think this is a secular university. Let me see if this is a secular university. University of Arkansas. Is that secular? I don't even know. Let me go look it up really quick. Here we go. Undergraduate, law school. Yeah, it looks pretty secular to me. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look religious. It looks like a regular university. They had 10,000 people become believers recently with a massive, of course, revival there. And this is a secular university. That's very interesting. That recently happened at the same time Coca-Cola is saying you can't use the name. Isn't that weird? I mean, isn't that a little strange? So then you have, what else do we got here? You have, I've talked about it already some. You have Pope Francis saying all religions lead to God, right? And actually, we're going to get into that a little bit because I'm going to show you someone who speaks Italian as his native language from Italy, who's also, I don't know if he's a scholar. I think he is. Like he's a literature type dude. Like he's got like a master's in literature or something. I don't know. He's in that realm, right? Like he's actually went to the Vatican Library and actually read stuff in it. His channel is called Metatron here on YouTube, and he goes through and literally translates what he says perfectly, and even corrects the translator where he made mistakes, and then shows. And then he goes to the scripture and shows in the ancient languages how the Pope literally contradicts scripture. And we'll get into that a little bit. But I wanted to mention, I've noticed all these ministers falling left and right, just tons of them recently. And then I'm seeing other strange things. I'm seeing people like these guys, Alex here, the Tuckmeister. They're all talking about praying and God all the time now. And they didn't do that before as much. You know, like, I don't think they really did it much at all before, although I think maybe a little bit here and there, but not much. All of a sudden, there's a lot of these social media guys talking about it all the time now and getting serious about religion or faith, right? But you have these ministers at the exact same time falling left and right. There's like 1 million of them. And then you also have this Diddy thing come out as well, where all these celebrities are getting caught, of course, into it. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio there. And why are they all in white? That is just so strange, right? But you have all these ministers falling left and right. And I thought this is what I mentioned in a previous video. Steve Lawson preached fire and, of course, brimstone except for himself. Exactly. And that's what I kind of noticed about him. Like, he's just talking the big words and I back it all up. But of course, his lifestyle didn't back up what his words were. And we're seeing this happen over and over. Tony Evans, just left and right. A Bickle from IHOP or whatever. I mean, there's tons of them. It's like every time you turn around, there's a new one. They're dropping like flies. And I think I know why all this is happening. It's because I think God is rooting out and showing you who are the real ones, who are the fake ones. And it's amazing because you would think like some of these leaders that are really well respected, you would never think they would fall, are actually the fakes or the ones falling. And the people that you would never expect to be religious at all or have faith are coming out of the woodworks like leaders in you're like, what is going on here? This is strange. And actually there's numerous examples of this. We have, of course, like Pope Francis, of course, this goes back into the Saint Malachi prophecy. This is the last Pope according to it. And he sits over the destruction, of course, of the church. Ironically, right, while he's saying things like this that pretty much are directly countering what is supposed to be taught. Very core tenets, the corest of core tenets, being contradicted by this man. He says all religions are a path to God. Now, of course, there's some people coming out saying, no, you just mistranslated what he said in Italian, right? Some people are trying to make excuses like he just wasn't understood properly and they didn't translate it correctly. This guy here, his name's Metatron. He's got a cool channel here on YouTube. I'm sure you guys have, maybe some of you might have heard of him. He covers a lot of like historical stuff. And again, like I mentioned, he actually was able to go into the Vatican Library back in the old days when you were allowed to, and he actually did research in there. So this guy is really an interesting person. He's also done videos on angels, very extensive research on stuff. And he goes in, and in this video, he basically translates what Francis is saying. Let me just play this.
Tutte le religioni, all religions,
sono un cammino per arrivare a Dio.
Are un cammino, a path, for, arrive, a Dio, to God. This is exactly what he said. All religions are a path to reach God.
Because every religion is a way to arrive at God.
So the translation is correct. Whoever said that this is a mistranslation, no, that's exactly what he said.
This is coming from a guy who actually grew up in Italy. So I think he might know. And then he goes in and shows how what the Pope said directly contradicts Scripture. And he even goes into the ancient languages, which is pretty funny.
Jumping into interlinear so we can check out the Greek original. So we get, says to him, Jesus, so of course, is the Lord speaking. This isn't like, oh, well, maybe one of the apostles wasn't sure. No, for a Christian, this is God speaking directly. And the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father if not by me. This is just to give you a little alternative that is a bit more literal, rather than but by me, if not by me. The concept is still the same, but to say that in Greek, it's even more specific.
So you get the idea. He's basically indicating that it's directly contradicting because it says there's only one way. And the Pope's saying there's actually many ways. And he even lists numerous religions in a statement, Hinduism, Sikh, just like he names them all. I mean, it's like, and then he goes into numerous ways of trying to reiterate what he already said. They're like different languages going to the same place. No, they're not. And it directly contradicts the King of Kings, just flat out. Then we have this. So it's not just the religious leaders. It's not just social figures changing in front of our eyes. And what was interesting in this conversation over here, where you have these big personalities, they're talking about their friends are also becoming very religious all out of nowhere. And a lot of other pundits out there are becoming religious all of a sudden out of nowhere. While at the same exact time, you have like so many, like pretty much every other mega church pastor is falling. Then you got this. Then you got Hollywood and the music industry. Foo Fighters pull out of Soundside Music Festival after David Grohl cheating scandal. Again, it seems like they're getting caught up with their words or some sort of cheating or something, and they're all being routed out. Again, I think this fits into what I've been saying is really going on, that we're actually coming on the end of a Ona, which is a 500-year period of time. We're coming to the end of the Red Dragon's time, and it ends on October 31st, Halloween this year. We'll get into that in a minute, but I wanted to get into these articles. I keep finding these strange articles about, and it's like every other day now. Foo Fighters, pull out of Soundside Music Festival after his cheating scandal. Then you have this one, Macklemore, who's some sort of rapper, dropped from Las Vegas Festival lineup after viral Blank America video. So they basically canceled him for saying that. So you're seeing a lot of people are getting sick of this wokeism. We saw what Coca-Cola did. This stuff does not work anymore. It ain't working. People are fed up with this stuff. I saw a video game. It was a multiplayer video game. They spent $100 million building it. They started selling it, and they didn't sell enough of them. And not enough people were playing. And they ended up refunding everybody. So they literally spent $100 million on nothing for a game that no one plays because it was completely wokeism, rainbowism, rainbows everywhere. It had an overweight, woman in armor. Like, really? Okay, that makes total sense. I mean, yeah, okay. You see what I mean? Then you have this here. Radio stations ban Green Day after frontman's anti-Las Vegas rant. I think this is tied to the other story. Let me show you this. So basically, I think this rapper Macklemore said blank America, and he was dropped, and radio stations dropped him, right? And Green Day didn't like that. They're like, oh, this is ridiculous. You should be able to say stuff like that. So and then they banned Green Day because they had some sort of anti-Las Vegas rant. So strangely, Las Vegas is sort of coming to the limelight in a different way. You have also numerous Hollywood actresses and actors that are wokey, rainbows everywhere. These, Femi, of course, that whole thing. They're all being dropped. Chris Gore claims Marvel has cleaned house by removing wokey producers following Phase 4's failures. Star Wars Outlaws and this new Agatha Marvel are all apparently having a lot of issues. And I think Star Wars Outlaws got almost no pre-orders. There's a bunch of games that got no pre-orders. Star Wars, no pre-orders because everyone's so sick of the rainbow and this wokey stuff. They're just not interested at all in paying any money for it. Then you have, of course, Walsh's new movie becoming a hit. So you have all these things happening of recent where you're seeing sort of everything flipping in a way you wouldn't anticipate. And I think it all comes back to what I mentioned about the Revelation 12, of course, sign that was seen in 2017, September, on the 23rd. And the time before that it was seen was at the birth of the King of Kings 2,000 years ago in September. So this very rare, of course, sign. If you add Daniel's 7-year timeline to it, you come to October 31st as the last day, Halloween this year. You also have another important demarcation date of September 16th. I mentioned already in a previous video, that was when Diddy was arrested, even though they try to hide it. It wasn't this day. This is Tuesday. The 17th was Tuesday. He was actually arrested on Monday, a day earlier because they were afraid he was going to run. So he was arrested on that demarcation date, which I believe is tied to what Clement said here, that in the fall they will fall, talking about kings, princes, essentially those at the top. And I showed already the former bodyguard of Diddy talking about how all these people that would come to his parties, and they're all princes and celebrities, and they're all getting, of course, caught up in this, and including ministers as well. So I think we're going to see something rather curious happening on October 31st. What is it going to be? There's a lot of people predicting something happening on that day. Something that will scare, of course, everyone, but then it will be a day of rejoicing after that, apparently. So into November will become rejoicing. I don't know. Something will be overturned. I feel like this is the last day for the devil. It's kind of how I look at it. We'll see what he tries to pull out of his hat on that day. But the whole point is that obviously we're going to have a very interesting time from now till then. Lots of things happening. You're seeing two dragons fight, as I've said many times, the red and white dragon. I believe the white dragon's going to have the power. And I've seen other people talking about kind of the devil's plans. I think that his plans are not going to come to fruition because his plans, I think, ultimately led into the next 500 years. I know it's hard for people to imagine that, but I don't think we have another 500 years like that. So I think what's going to ultimately happen is it's going to turn to the white dragon, and it's going to become a much better time with. And let me show you what I'm referring to. So all these people that are being routed out, that are getting removed from, of course, Hollywood, from the church, with the Steve Lawson and other guys, all these people, these ministers, these celebrities, they're being routed out because they're going to be replaced with, of course, good people. And this was something that was predicted a long time ago. It's called the Seven Mountain, prophecy. And it talks about how all of these from the red dragon's kingdom will be replaced with the white dragon's kingdom, which will be including the GOV, education, business, media, arts and entertainment, family, religion. Okay, so that's why I think you're seeing all this stuff happen right now. It's because they're all being routed out so that this can ultimately happen. And so I wanted to get into that. Of course, I wanted to get into a couple other things as well. I wanted to mention, and this shows you how the devil is still fighting really a lot. Let me show you what's going on with this China stock market thing and how it fits into this. It actually doesn't sound like it at first glance, but it does. You'll see. China stocks see best week since 2008 on stimulus impact. Sounds great, right? Well, remember, 2008 is when we had a stock market crash. So it's the same. They had a huge high, and all of a sudden it crashed super hard in 2008. That's exactly what's going to happen very soon here. I've already showed the graphs that prove we were going to have a stock market crash. I don't even know if here I have it open. This is actually scientific proof it's happening. All these gray marks are stock market crashes. Whenever the yield curve uninverts, stock market crash. Every time. It's already uninverted. It's already went above this black line. This is actually old data I'm showing here. It's already uninverted. So we already guaranteed a stock market crash in the next couple months, probably before the end of the year. And what this will ultimately lead to, let me show you what's going on. So you saw the China stocks doing really good, right? Like 2008, which actually means they're going to have a stock market crash soon, probably as well, just like we saw with the Japanese stock market, which crashed a month ago. Check this out. China expert sounds alarm over WAR signals. Why would they want a WAR? Why would they want a world one? Why? I'll show you exactly why they want one. Here's why. Right here. Irresponsible legacy. Debt is 100% of GDP. Highest since World War II. Whenever they get the debt equal to the GDP, that's when they want to do these world WARs. America, China, Japan, Germany, all are in this boat. It's time. Money. It's basically World War II, of course, helped the economy. Reduced debt. You see what I'm getting at? That's why they want to do it. But of course, here's the problem with that. It's not the same this time around. We have much, much, much bigger technology than last time. There ain't going to be an Earth left if we do this. You see what I mean? So this is the catch-22. And of course, these guys want to stay, in power, but they're not going to be able to. You see what I'm getting at? That's why they're going to get routed out. This is my theory on it. They want to stay there, but they're not going to be able to. And they want to somehow pull off a world WR without everything getting, going back to the Stone Ages or something. But you can see even this happened. China of course, launches something into the Pacific hours after his address at the United, of course, Nations, my friends. You don't think that was just a mere coincidence? They're saying which side they're on. They're not on our side. They're with the Ruslans. See how that works? So that's what's going on with that. At any rate, that's my video. I kind of want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.